Good morning, sports fans. This is Jimmy, still learning to talk with the new dentures. Well, coming to you a little earlier than usual, or than I have been lately. This is the earliest I think I've come since I've been sick. But I have to leave here in about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, as we have a meeting in Hollister today. And I feel a little beat up because I had some weird dreams last night. But I think that either God was trying to show me something, or I, should not have eaten the leftover Chinese food. One or the other. We don't know. We do know that we live in an age of declension and disintegration. I can't keep it from happening. Nobody can keep it from happening. I don't know if I want to keep it from happening. Because Jesus says he's going to come and he's going to judge. That's what we've been talking about all this time. And if judgment first begins in the house of God, then where shall the unrighteous stand? I think that was from Peter. I think Paul said, how shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation? I bet you didn't think I had a white shirt anymore. Velda got me this white shirt for Father's Day. This is the first time I'm wearing it, because I'm speaking this morning at a meeting. And I thought, well, I might as well go the whole hog. It might make up for my less than optimum enunciation. We'll practice on that this morning. Chapter 11, we're still in a parenthesis in the narrative of the 7 trumpets. This is between the 6th trumpet and the 7th trumpet. There's this long parentheses of things. And what John has been doing is he has been telling us things that are going on between the 6th trumpet and the 7th trumpet. He's recapping, in other words. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, and this is happening over here, and this is happening over there, and this is happening in heaven, and this is happening down on the earth, and this is happening over in that country, and this is happening in Babylon, and this is happening in Jerusalem, and so forth and so on. We have a great narrator. So let's just go ahead and start with chapter 11. We're discussing the 2 witnesses about whom more ink has been spilled, I think, than almost any other subject in prophecy study, because everybody flocks behind 2 main ideas of who these 2 witnesses are, and usually don't give any consideration to what it might also mean. We're going to look at all those. I don't know if we'll get to all of it today, but we will get to it eventually. The good Lord willing, and the church don't rise. I talked about the times of the Gentiles from Luke 21. And I explained to you about the taking of the Temple Mount by General Moshe Dayan in a battle that lasted basically for 3 days, from the 4th to the 6th of June, 1967. The last half of the 6-day war. Jerusalem was taken by the Israelis. And Jesus talks about the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD that was coming. And he makes a strange prediction about the times of the Gentiles. I referred to this the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, but I want to look at it a little more closely this morning. He told them that there would not be one stone left upon another at the temple. This was fulfilled in 70 AD when Titus's army reduced Jerusalem after its almost 3-year siege. There was a rumor that the Jews had hidden gold in the mortar between the stones. And so that's why they threw down every stone trying to find the gold. There was no there was no gold in the mortar. There was no gold hidden away in the cracks. And still they took down every stone. Jesus' prophecy was complete, full. And he, in 33 AD, he described exactly what would happen from 67 AD to 70 AD. And it did happen. It's recorded history. The Roman general Titus destroyed Jerusalem and took away the Jews captive. There is a memorial to it in Rome now. It is called the Arch of Titus, and it pictures the captive Jews being led down from the Temple Mount, and behind them on the Temple Mount is just a blaze of fire. Titus would go on to become the emperor of Rome, and his father was the emperor of Rome at this time. But when Jesus was giving this Sermon on the Mount of Olives to not to all his disciples, but to what I call the kitchen cabinet, to Peter, James, and John. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, the sons of thunder. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Shanna. I know it's a shock to see me in a white shirt, Shanna. It was my Father's Day present. And I'm speaking to a lot of preachers today, so I thought I would wear it so that I would look more respectable. I had a friend when I was about 25. He said, Jimmy, you need to become respectable. And I said, I already am a spectacle. just a couple of letters in a word can change everything, right? The whole world. You know, words mean things. We literary people, we keep telling the world that words mean things. You need to say what you mean and mean what you say. And very little of that going on nowadays. So, anyway, Jesus predicted the fall of Jerusalem 30 years before it happened. Well, actually 37 years before it happened. And he tells his disciples in verse 20 of chapter 21 of Luke, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. This was their punishment for rejecting their king. And Jesus said, behold, your house is left unto you desolate. You shall not see me again, not see my face again, till thou shalt say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. Barak haba b'shem Adonai. And these are the things that were fulfilled. These be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And then he goes into all of these natural and supernatural disasters that were going to come up on the earth before he comes back. We're starting to begin to see signs of those right now. The changing weather patterns, the stronger storms, the more frequent earthquakes, typhoons, volcanoes that had never erupted before. All incredible. These are just the beginning of sorrows. These aren't even the birth pangs. These aren't even the contractions. This is just the beginning where she says, oops, I think we need to go to the hospital. It's just the start of things. Chapter 11 of Revelation 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise, measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But leave the court which is without the temple. The court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. The holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. I read about this compact that Israel makes with the politician or the military leader that's going to become the Antichrist. And it's a deal with the devil. It says, I'll protect you. I'll give you security, complete security. Go ahead and rebuild your temple. Nobody will bother you. But in return, you're going to be an ally with me. Jesus said, in John chapter 5, and he talks about how if they don't believe that he's who he says he is, that they're going to die in their sins. He doesn't bear witness of himself. He bears witness of the Father. He says that they won't come to him, that they might have life. And he accuses them in chapter 5, and he comes back. He comes back in chapter 7, and he says, you're trying to kill me for doing a good work. And they say, no. We're not killing you for a good work. We're killing you because you're blaspheming. And there was a division among all the people in chapter 8 of John. he has a much farther extended discourse with the Pharisees and the rulers and the chief priests. And he says that he doesn't come in his own name. He comes in the name of his Father. He says, if you don't believe that I'm him, you're going to die in your sins. And he kept telling them about the Father, speaking the things of the Father, doing the things that the Father wants them to do. He says he only does the things that he sees with his Father. He says, I come in the name of my Father, and you receive me not. But there will come another in his own name, and him you'll believe. And that is this Antichrist, this prince that is to come. In a real sense, if we don't believe Christ, we believe in Antichrist, the spirit of Antichrist, anything against Christ. See, it's not Jesus or Buddha or Jesus or Allah. It's either Jesus or the devil. It's Jesus or hell. It's Jesus or death. There are not many ways to heaven. There's only one way to heaven. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. It has nothing to do with following a bunch of rules or dressing a certain way or worshiping on a certain day or making a certain sacrifice or not making a certain sacrifice. What matters is, do you believe in the Son of God? Do you believe that Jesus died and rose again? Do you believe that he is alive now and is returning to judge the quick and the dead? Do you believe that he is an ever-present help in time of danger? Have you come to him and given yourself to him and sacrificed your life to his service? Have you done that? Said, Lord, I don't understand everything, but I understand this, that you're God and I'm not. And I give myself to you. That's why they call it a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice if it doesn't cost you something. It's not a sacrifice if it doesn't hurt. It will cost you to serve Christ. It doesn't cost you anything to serve the world except your soul and eternal life with Jesus. Romans 12, verses 1 and 2. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And David, when he went to buy the piece of ground on which the temple would be built, on the very temple mount from Araunah the Jebusite, the very place that we're talking about here in Jerusalem in chapter 11 of Revelation. David, the king Araunah, who used to be the king of the Jebusites, he's up there plowing with oxen, threshing his wheat. And he says, I'll give you this piece of land, I'll give you the oxen, I'll give you the wood for a sacrifice. And David said, nay, but I will pay thee a price for it. He says, I will not offer burnt offerings unto the Lord of that which doth cost me nothing. It will cost you to serve Christ. In many cases, it will cost everything you have, everything you had, and everything you will have to serve Christ. And there's no way around it. Jesus encourages each of us in chapter, 14 of Luke, to count the cost, because there is a price for following Jesus, a price that we have to pay. We must count the cost because we have to take up our cross daily and follow him. Chapter 11, verse 1 of Revelation, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall be they tread under foot for 42 months. And during this time, for over these 42 months, I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. And this is during a time where the beast, the Antichrist, is expanding his power throughout the whole world. And it will take 3.5 years for the nation of Israel to realize that they have made a devil's bargain with the beast. And during this time is when the greatest revival in the history of the world takes place. It takes place in 2 phases. First, the Grand Mal Revival right after the rapture. And then the ministry of the 144,000 Jewish Billy Grahams that are sent out in all the world to evangelize, bring people to Christ and to disciple them. And all the people that they lead to the Lord, millions upon millions of people of every tongue, every nation, every race. But it's coordinated and protected by these 2 powerful witnesses in Jerusalem who keeps the attention of the world on Jerusalem and on themselves. Keeps the attention upon the world on the Antichrist. Because while all the world is celebrating him, they're going to talk about how rotten he is and how he's the devil. Well, you know, if you've been hungry and you're getting fed by a guy, you were naked and you were clothed by a guy, and you were homeless and you were sheltered by a guy, well, you think he's a pretty good guy, right? Well, the devil will use all of those tricks to win the hearts and minds of the people on the earth, and only those that trust Christ will be immune to his chicanery and his shenanigans. Verse 3, Revelation 11, and I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. and they shall prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth. Oh, yeah, I got a couple of sore spots. The new teeth. They were clothed in sackcloth. That's the way the old prophets came. They came humble. Think about Elijah. He was a hairy man in a leather girdle. Then you look at John the Baptist, who came in the spirit of Elijah. And he wore a leather girdle. It was like a loincloth wrapped around him. Animal hide. And he ate locust and wild honey, a wild man in the desert. Jesus said, what went out for you to see? A man dressed in fine clothes and soft clothes? What'd you go out there for to see? And to those who wear soft clothes and eat sumptuously, they live in king's palaces. What went out for you to see? You went out to see a prophet, and you saw a prophet. They're coming in the spirit of Elijah, like John the Baptist did, you see. They're clothed in sackcloth. They're not worried about their uniform. They didn't put on their new white shirt like I did today. As was customary for some of the prophets, they didn't even change their clothes. Ezekiel had to lay on his side. I don't remember how many months. Was it a year? He just had to lay there on the ground. Then there was another time he had to walk naked. I bet that was fun. I can just imagine the small children would be scarred for life. You don't want to see me, trust me. I'm glad that God hadn't commanded me to walk naked through the streets of Jerusalem or the streets of any place else. They're clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees, the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth, and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must, in this manner, be killed. Now, this is directly back to Elijah. Let me go back to 2 Kings. And we have the example of Elijah calling down fire. And the king, verse 9 of chapter 1 of 2 Kings. Then the king, this is the king of Israel, King Ahaziah. And then the king sent unto him a captain of 50 with his 50. And he went up to him, and behold, he sat on the top of a hill. And he spake to him, Thou man of God, the king hath said, Come down. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50. Again also he sent unto him another captain of 50 with his 50. He answered and said unto him, O man of God, thus hath the king said, Come down quickly. And Elijah answered and said unto them, If I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. So we got 102 dead so far. And fire came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And he sent again a captain of the third 50 with his 50. And the third captain of the 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of God, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight. Behold, there came fire down from heaven and burned up the two captains of the former 50s with their 50s. Therefore let my life now be precious in thy sight. And the angel of the Lord said to Elijah, Go down with him, be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him to the king. Who had the power, the king or God, as displayed through Elijah? You can't do anything against God. You can't do anything against the servant of God. I'm invincible until God tells me, until God takes me home. I'm indestructible. Nothing can happen to me until he says it's time. This is a truth that's taught throughout the entire Bible. The man or woman, the person of God, the man of God in the will of God, doing the work of God, is invulnerable, indestructible, until the moment that God decides his work is done. Not 1 minute before, and I won't remain 1 minute after. Because I'm also convinced that God would not leave me here in this vale of tears. See, I've already figured out the devil's tricks. I know how bad it is. He's not going to allow me to stay here weeping for this world, this lost and dying world. He's not going to leave me here one more moment than he has to. Now, when I say I'm ready to go home, I don't mean that I'm going to go drink hemlock and lay down and go, woe is me. No, I'm not going to pull a Hamlet or something like that. I don't do that kind of thing. The thing about Hamlet, he never could make a decision. Well, I made a decision a long time ago. And the old account was settled long ago. Well, there was a time on earth when in the books of heaven the old account was standing. For sin left unforgiven, my name was at the top. There was many things below, but I went unto the keeper, and he settled it long ago, down on my knees. Long ago, I settled it all. Yeah, the old account was settled long ago. And my record's clear today. He done washed my sin away. And the old account was settled long ago. As June Carter famously said one time, she said, yeah, but I think we're still paying on it. I feel that way sometimes myself. The old account may be settled, but I still feel like I'm paying a collection. The fire that comes down from heaven. So he's displaying one of the powers of Elijah, the ability to call down from heaven. One of these witnesses is, or both of these witnesses are. In Jeremiah, chapter 5. It's been so long since we went through Jeremiah. I think I would have to read it again and go over all my notes to teach it again. And I believe that I might even find new things in there that I didn't find before. In verse 11 of chapter 5, God says to Jeremiah, the house of Judah and the house of Israel, they've dealt very treacherously against me. They have belied the Lord and said, it is not he, neither shall evil come upon us, neither shall we see sword or famine. The prophets shall become wind, and the word is not in them. Thus shall it be done with them. What he's saying is the prophets are talking, and I'm not saying anything. They're just blowing air. That's what you hear most of today, is just guys blowing air. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Julie. You know, I know that some of you may get tired of this, and you say, well, Jimmy, why are you always ragging on these other guys and you seldom even name who they are? Well, if you can't figure out who they are, then you probably won't believe me if I tell you, because you may like them too much. But I'm saying they're people that they're not servants of Christ. Their God is their own belly. All they do is say, send money. This isn't from God. God doesn't need your money. You want to give it to him, great. You should really be giving any money you have. You need to give it to the local church and help the people around you, not help some guy have 3 jet planes. It's all madness. It's all craziness. Don't be a part of that. We get down here to verse 14 in chapter 5 of Jeremiah. Wherefore, thus saith the Lord God of hosts, because you speak this word, behold, I will make my words in thy mouth fire, and this people wood, and it shall devour them. Here, Jeremiah, God says, your words are going to be like fire. I'm going to put fire in your mouth. You're going to be like a fire-breathing dragon. When you talk, it's going to burn the people up. I get that feeling sometimes. I get so excited when I talk and everybody gets mad at me in a meeting, and they're about ready to stone me or run me out of town on a rail. And I say, well, did I step on somebody's toes? People don't get mad unless you're goring their ox, you know. People don't get mad at you unless you're stepping on their toes. You know, I am here to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. God doesn't need comfortable people. Can't use them. Verse 6, these have power to shut up heaven, these 2 witnesses, that it not rain in the days of their prophecy. Now, this is also Elijah. Back in 1 Kings, chapter 17, this is at the beginning of Elijah's ministry. Verse 7, chapter 17, verse 1, and Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, according to my word. And it was 3.5 years there was no rain in the land. James refers to this in the New Testament, refers back to it, talking about patience. And he says in verse 17, Elijah was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it might not rain, and it rained not on the earth by a space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again on Mount Carmel, where he defeated the prophets of Baal and of the groves, all the Jezebel's fake preachers. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, or woman. They have the power to shut up the heaven that it rain not during the days of their prophecy. And how long is their prophecy? 3.5 years. How long did Elijah cause it not to rain? 3.5 years. This is more of the natural disaster that is going to be supernaturally imposed upon the earth. The giant droughts, great droughts. And we're getting there now. God is setting the stage. You know, the climate is changing. The droughts are worse and they're longer. The storms are bigger and more destructive. Seems like every other year we have a storm that breaks the records for the damage of the worst storm ever. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. And you realize that it would have to be this way for all of these seemingly natural disasters, which are really supernaturally imposed upon the earth, that all of these earthquakes and volcanoes and meteorite showers and droughts and storms and cyclones and earthquakes, all these things, they're getting stronger on purpose because we are rushing toward Armageddon. We are flying, we are running to the day that Jesus is going to rapture the church. And then the 7 years of hell will be upon the earth, culminating in the return of the Lord Jesus and the battle of Armageddon and the destruction of the devil and all his armies and his Antichrist. Stuff doesn't happen overnight. We're building toward it right now. What do you think AI is? It is the system that the Antichrist will use to track every person on the planet. We're just getting it ready for him. If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to give up on you. I'll keep preaching it. They have power to shut heaven that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. They have the power over waters to turn them to blood. That's what Noah did. That's what Moses did. You know, he told Aaron to stick his rod out over the water and turn the waters to blood right there in front of Pharaoh. They have the power to shut up heaven that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. And they have the power over waters to turn them to blood and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. There were 10 plagues in Egypt. There are more and worse plagues that are displayed here during the Great Tribulation. But what he's made clear is that these two witnesses, they're going to have all the power of Elijah and all the power of Moses. They're going to do the works that Elijah and Moses did. Which brings up the idea of, well, are they Moses and Elijah? I don't know. But we're going to talk about that tomorrow. I got to go to Hollister. God bless all of you. And Lord willing, I'll see you tomorrow.